News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Searchers looking for Libby Stimson zeroed in on a small stretch of Weber River in the community of Uinta on Thursday, not far from where she was last seen in the swift water. Lieutenant Mark Horton with the Weber County Sheriff's Office said investigators have now spoken to people who were on a popular trail to the west of the location, and none of them reported seeing her that far downstream. Teams flew a drone over the targeted area, strategized on the riverbanks, and set tether lines before several searchers went into the rushing current. At least two of them had poles to probe the river's edge and perhaps even the bottom. Meanwhile, Chris Garside, Libby's mother-in-law, said any theory how she ended in the water is simply speculation. Libby had phoned her husband on Monday saying their dogs had gone in but managed to get out of the river. Then, according to Garside, Libby said she was going back because one of the dogs had lost a collar. Horton said some searchers need a break, so there will likely be fewer members of the search and rescue team there today, but he said the search will ramp up for the weekend. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy and a 40% chance of rain showers. Overnight low in the upper 30s. Chance of rain showers, slight chance of thunderstorms Saturday morning. Showers and a chance of storms in the afternoon tomorrow. Upper 50s for the high. And then a chance of showers and storms Saturday night. 70% chance of showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon on Sunday. And again, in the 50s, middle 50s for the high temperature on Sunday. It's been to 60 today. It's 57 right now at KBNU. At Roof Rescue, their licensed and insured professionals use state-of-the-art technologies and products for all of their repair and installation projects. Call 435-999-4268 for watertight peace of mind.
My hearing started to go right around the same time my wife started naming off all the upgrades she wanted done on the house. I figured it was selective hearing. To be honest, I was actually pretty upset when it was suggested that I might need hearing aids, but ultimately I knew it was time for a change.
At Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, we can help you regain the confidence that you're hearing life the way it was meant to be heard.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Visit CacheHearing.com for details.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Small business owners in Utah are facing a credit crunch, with 82% of respondents expressing concern about their ability to access capital. According to a survey by Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small business voices. The survey released during National Small Business Week revealed a shift from 1 year ago when 77% of respondents were confident about their ability to access capital. Of the respondents who applied for a small business loan in the past 3 months, 60% found it somewhat or very difficult to access affordable capital, while 60% said rising interest rates were impacting their ability to service existing debt. Small business owners also expressed concern about the debt ceiling fight in Washington, with 64% saying they would be negatively impacted if Congress does not raise the debt ceiling. 91% saying it is important for the federal government not to default on its debt. And the state of Utah has launched a new website to provide its residents with comprehensive resources on flooding. The website, floods.utah.gov, features the FEMA flood risk map and information from various state departments, making it a valuable resource for residents. It also offers a daily situational report update every morning and links to county and city emergency management websites for local information. USU Extension has also created a website, flood.usu.edu, with flood information and resources, including tips on how to prepare for, handle, and recover from floods, flood maps, and information on sandbagging, flood insurance, emergency preparation, food safety, sanitizing, and more. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Reporting the news that matters to you. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, your number one radio station for news and talk.
We're celebrating Cinco de Mayo at the Cache County Fairgrounds right now. It's going on until 8 o'clock tonight. Maybe you and your family want to come out, get some delicious food, maybe meet some new people, and maybe even just see some of the amazing vendors. Plus, we got great music. There's Zumba going on. It's just an all-around good time at the Cache County Fairgrounds right now. Now, this is going on until about 8 o'clock tonight, so if you are looking for a late-night bite, you know that you can get it with tons of different food options, and then you can come, again, maybe make some new friends while you're just bouncing around here. And speaking of bouncing, maybe you want to go bounce in the bounce house. I would recommend maybe adults not be bouncing in the bounce house, but regardless, it would be a great time all together. Hopefully we'll see you here. It's the Cinco de Mayo celebration going on at the Cache County Fairground until 8 o'clock.
Make laundry a snap with the large load washers and dryers at Mount Logan Laundry. Rather than 8 to 10 loads at home, get the job done in 1 or 2 with their 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers that are perfect for sleeping bags, comforters, and other big items. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello?
Yeah, good morning. Is Misty Nash there?
This is her.
Somebody contacted our radio stations on our website and said that you have taught preschool for the Logan City School District while supporting your family. Is that you?
That's me.
Those little kids can be a challenge sometime, can't they?
They can be, but they're worth it.
I have a $40 gift card from Firehouse Subs here in Logan to say thank you for going above and beyond in our community, Misty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com. For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Friday, May 5th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Thank you for joining us. The For the People movie show coming up in a bit, an extended edition again this week. We've got a lot of catching up to do, and summer movie season is upon us. So Andy Morgan will be with us later on this hour and all through next hour, so stay tuned. Kicking things off here today, though, with a special guest joining us. Earlier this week, I was talking a bit about a Salt Lake Tribune story regarding the turf buyback program the legislature had thrown a little more money at this year than in previous years in the hopes of getting people to, bluntly rip up their grass and put in something a little less water intense or demanding. And apparently, as I discussed that, I got some things wrong or missed some important details. And so Nathan Daugs of the Cache Water Conservancy District in Cache County reached out and said he'd like to talk about it and some other things that are happening as well when it comes to the water-wise goal that is dominating our discussions, even though, if you look at the rivers right now, water is not, at the current moment, water is in abundance, but we are still, concerned about drought, and drought could set back in within a couple of months here if temperatures don't play along. So, and hoping for those rainstorms in the summer again, still at least. Joining us now, Nathan, appreciate you taking some time for us today. And this is, water in do you ever get tired of thinking about and talking about water?
No, that's all I do. That's what I live for.
I mean, it's really almost an understatement to say it's dominating conversations, but it really is here in Utah, from the recent legislative session to here in Cache County. Currently we're watching, floods and things like that, and crossing our fingers that things don't get as bad as they could. And then, there's a chance later on this summer we're back to talking about drought and a lack of water again. We don't control any of that, but there are a lot of things that we can do, right?
There are, yeah. And, thanks for bringing the turf buyback program up the other day.
Oh, happy
I think, moving forward, it may be a good tool we can use to reduce our water use, where the majority of home water use is used outside. And so this is one tool we can use to begin to change some of that.
Sure.
And I just wanted to let the community know that the rebate through the state is now available statewide, and there's a number of things you have to do to be eligible for it. And so people that want more information can go to Utah Water Savers website and read those details. One thing is to make sure they don't do anything with their lawn, kill their lawn, or start tearing it out until they have been approved by the state to do the project.
Sure.
And then know that there's a cost associated with that. And the big difference in Cache County, as opposed to some of the districts along the Wasatch Front, is in most of the state, residents are only going to be eligible for $1.50 a square foot.
Okay.
Some areas it will be $3, but that's when there's a local entity matching the state's funds. And so here in Cache County, it will only be $1.50 per square foot, still the same maximum per household. If they were to do, a pretty large area, you'd
Sure.
have to do over half an acre really to max out what you could get.
So this isn't for the average resident. It's not a program, for tearing up a corner of your lawn or a strip of grass on the side of your drive. This is for kind of larger projects, more of replacing the entire lawn.
No, it could be for anything. If someone just wants to do their park strip, that would be eligible, or just the side of their house, that would be eligible also.
Okay.
Or if they wanted to do the whole thing. But then, they're going to have to put in a drip irrigation system for the area that they take it out, and then put in a certain percentage of the plant coverage will still be required to be eligible for the program.
Okay.
But the most critical part of the program is each municipality, in order for their residents to be eligible, has to pass an ordinance restricting, the amount of turf that new construction can have.
Okay.
And so far, the only community in Cache County that has done that is Hyde Park. So for residents in the rest of the county, if they want to be eligible for this, they need to, talk with their city councils and their mayors and let them know that, they're interested and they need to get those ordinances passed for residents to be eligible.
Sure. So this is
that's probably going to take a few months, for those city councils to work on those ordinances, see how they fit in their city, and get those passed. But that's one critical thing that before anyone's eligible in all the other communities in the county, those cities have got to get those ordinances passed.
Sure.
And there's a few of them already working on those, so I think they'll get there. But there's a number I think that still need to get moving on that.
Outside of the rebate program, the turf buyback rebate program, I noticed the UtahWaterSavers.com website has some tips on just saving money in general, and some fixture rebates that are available as well, as these landscaping incentives to all of this to get us using less water. Also, for listeners, you can select your provider in your area there at UtahWaterSavers.com, and it'll tell you even more. And as Nathan has said, this is in its earliest stages. It was a pilot program of sorts, and then the legislature funded it fully this year. So it's just getting off the ground. But as Nathan said, reach out to your city, talk to them. They're great advice at UtahWaterSavers.com on even some ideas of, if you're wondering if this is something that might fit your yard and your preferences, some great ideas there about, things to consider. And Nathan, we've seen this is a huge water savings, right? Even in the pilot program, it made a big difference.
It is, yeah. If you can take out turf and put in some of these other plants, it's a pretty immediate water savings for the homeowner. And if enough people do it, then the city has a noticeable reduction in water use. And in conjunction with this, the water district later this month on the 25th is hosting a basics to local scapes. So it's a class that Weber Basin Water Conservancy District is coming up to put on for us. But it'll give residents an idea of kind of the steps they would go through and what the process is to convert their lawn from turf to these low water use plants. So if anyone's interested in that, they can go to our website, cashwaterdistrict.com, and register for that class the evening of May 25th. We'll be doing that.
That's amazing. This is so actually kind of a training of sorts on water-wise yards and landscaping in general. And when we use the word local scapes, Nathan, that kind of gets to something you and I have talked about many times when we've been discussing water, that the each area is going to be a little different, right?
Yeah, we're not going to have the same looking yard as they do in St. George.
Sure.
We're a different environment, a different climate, and so the plants we use and the things that are there are going to be different than you would in other areas of the state. And so that's what this class kind of gets you geared towards, is what works in our area and kind of the planning process for how you would do that.
Very nice. And you said again that's the evening of May 25th?
Yep, May 25th. You've got to register for that because we've got limited space, but registration, it is free. But like I say, you can register for that from our website.
Very nice. A link to that on our Facebook page, but the website again, cashwaterdistrict.com. And Nathan Daugs, our guest here again from the Water District and with the county, the guy that knows everything about water. and Nathan, right now, I joked about this at the first. I was up near the Blacksmith Fork River earlier today. We're trying to wear the dogs out before I left them alone. And, man, that river just about to go over its banks. So we've got flooding in Amalga, and that bridge in Smithfield, it's close. So it does present a challenge, right? It gets us all thinking, the water's not an issue.
Yeah, sometimes too much is an issue for a little bit. We never have the perfect amount every year, but we'll take what we can get and deal with it for the next probably 5 or 6 weeks still, maybe a little longer before the rivers get back down. And then, we hope the summer doesn't turn off too hot and dry and we have a great year.
Sure. Be sure to check all of this out. Register for the upcoming class on May 25th through the Water District on local scapes. A great way to learn about what you might be able to do in your yard to save some water and save a lot of money. And then also check out the Utah Water Savers website as well for more information on that rebate program for both landscaping and fixtures. Our guest again has been Nathan Daugs with the Cache Water District. And Nathan, always a pleasure to have you here on the show, and appreciate you providing some additional information on all this.
Yeah, we hope residents and cities work with the state and take advantage of the program.
Please, absolutely do. There's no reason not to, and it is going to make a big difference. So check it out. Again, UtahWaterSavers.com, and for registration for that upcoming class on local landscaping, CashWaterDistrict.com has a link there right on the main page. Again, Nathan, thank you for your time. To our listeners, thank you for your time. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your headlines and smooth jazz right after this.
Dr. Josh Redd, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is, what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identify triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement, because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness, with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Hey, Joe, I thought you were retired.
Living on a fixed income is tough. So here I am, an essential worker.
I know. I mean, food prices are going up every day. Thank goodness for benefitscheckup.org.
Benefits what?
benefitscheckup.org. It's a free website where people over 60 can find help to pay for food, medicine, even utilities. I got $1,200 a year in benefits. Maybe it can help you.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Again, an extended movie show today. Andy Morgan will be with us after the bottom of the hour and then into hour 2 as well. We've got a lot of catching up to do, a lot of big announcements in the movie and entertainment world. And, of course, summer movie season is officially here. And this is going to be one of the biggest since 2019. We've seen pretty much not a full recovery in box office since the start of the pandemic in 2020. Still a little shy of a full recovery. And a lot of that attributed to, people getting a little pickier, just as we're seeing in the labor market. The pandemic seemed to, the one thing that seems to be sticking around from that, people are unwilling to do as much as they're asked to do for as little as they're sometimes asked to do in the workforce, or to do certain jobs without certain other benefits. And we're seeing the same thing when it comes to entertainment. People are a little more finicky. It's not that people aren't willing to spend money. The economy's fine. In fact, great jobs report today. GDP continuing to grow steadily. So people aren't sitting on their wallets because they're worried about the future of the economy. They're not sitting on their wallets, actually. They're just being a lot more picky about how they spend their money, and it's proving a challenge for especially the large movie theater chains. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Andy Morgan coming up in just a bit. Right now, though, we will officially get the show started now with our headlines and smooth jazz for Friday, May 5th. On this day in history, of course, it's Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. And in 1862, Mexican forces defeated French forces, thus the reason for the May 5th significance in Mexico history. Then, of course, a few years later, the French regrouped and came back and defeated the Mexican forces, and things played out from there. But it's still recognized as a sort of their version, Mexico's version of the 4th of July. Celebrated here in the United States more as just a festival celebrating Mexican and Latino culture. But in Mexico, it is a very seriously taken holiday, and it's celebrated widely and loudly. 1904 on this day, Cy Young of the Boston Americans threw the first perfect game in the modern era of baseball, i.e. baseball as we know it. First perfect game was thrown on this day in 1904. Happened a few times over since then, but not often. Gandhi, freed from prison on this day in 1944. And on this day in 1978, another baseball historical moment. Pete Rose hits his 3,000th Major League hit on this day in 1978. I've been reading a lot about baseball, if you can't tell. Famous birthdays today. Karl Marx, journalist Nellie Bly, country singer Tammy Wynette, news anchor Brian Williams, and singer Chris Brown celebrating birthdays on this day. Back to baseball. I really didn't plan this. This is actually a story in the news today that is baseball themed, but it is a poll. There's been a lot of talk since the announcement that a group of wealthy individuals, investors, business owners, and more, all operating sort of under the Larry H. Miller umbrella, are planning to set aside some land to build a stadium that they hope will house a Major League Baseball team in Salt Lake. Now, all of this right now is just talk. Really just talk. But Deseret News reached out to the Hinckley Institute of Politics and said, let's run a poll. Do people really want this to happen? Some of the debate is hinged around where the land would be located and all the potential uses for that. In fact, it would be maybe a decent place for housing. Others have pointed out it is one of the less, let's say, scenic areas of Salt Lake. In fact, the view from the stadium would most likely be the stacks at the Chevron refinery off in the distance there. So
how scenic.
How scenic, right? At the same time, Major League Baseball would probably be huge. Utah does have the population in the area to support the idea. The Major League has some, requirements along those lines. And the requirements basically are all about, if we had a Major League Baseball game, could we sell tickets enough to support the franchise here in Utah? And that the answer to that is yes. But do Utahns actually want this? Well, what the Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll found is 81% of those surveyed strongly or somewhat favor a Major League Baseball franchise coming to the Beehive State. Only 14% surveyed were absolutely opposed, and 5% could care less. I'm actually surprised that wasn't the largest number.
Well, it's, part of it maybe is trying to keep up with Las Vegas because, Las Vegas now has NFL, and they've picked up the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas, so they're getting their own major baseball team, so Major League Baseball. So I don't know. I would think this, for as early as baseball starts, you'd almost need a stadium with a retractable roof. Because, you have some contrary weather that's not conducive to playing baseball early in the season in Utah.
That would be my biggest concern. Would it infringe on the average time frame of a Major League Baseball season? Weather here in Utah? Well, this year, yes, right? Some of those games started in other parts of the country when we were still under 4 feet of snow. So,
well, and Denver has the same problem as well with the Rockies there because, April is a very snowy month generally in Denver.
Sure. It's interesting. The group most excited about a Major League Baseball team coming to Utah was the 35 to 40 age group. 35 and under, 18 to 35, not very excited at all. They weren't opposed, but they were sort of meh. With only about a quarter of them, but nearly 87% of those 25 to 40. 25 to 40-year-olds, 87% of them were in favor. And this also surprised me. Maybe this is just something I didn't think was the case with baseball in general, but more women than men favored a team coming to Utah, which surprises me because I don't know any women in my life who like watching Major League Baseball, and myself, I tell you, I will be at more Real soccer games than I would be Major League Baseball game, because if I had to choose between two sports in which the games go on a little bit too long and there's not enough action on the field to keep my attention, soccer and baseball are the two, with soccer winning out just a bit because they do occasionally score a goal. So,
and you get to hear the PA announcer go, "Goal!"
That's right. Yeah, that's always exciting when that happens. So, all right. Also in the headlines today, conservatives. Well, I don't know if I should say conservatives. The furthest right of the country has been boycotting Bud Light over the last few weeks after Bud Light released a can with a transgender celebrity on the can, something Bud Light does all the time. Well, conservatives said, that's it, we're done. And they have been crowing that, they're bringing Bud Light down. It appears not to be working. In the Bud Light stock market world today, shares for the company actually up 6%, as investors feel that Bud Light is actually making a smart move, putting itself in this position. So we talked about this several months ago, a proposed ban on hunting trumpeter swans, North America's largest bird. Surprisingly large number of them killed here in Utah by Utah hunters, breaching a 20-bird limit during a short day hunt. 73 days, that's the length of the hunt, and apparently Utah hunters were not playing by the rules. So DWR is still soliciting public comment on a proposal that would outright ban entirely the hunting of trumpeter swans here in Utah, saying that is likely the only way to get hunters to play by the rules on this one. The DWR says the abuse has been worse than with any other regularly hunted animal, and as to why, no one has a clue. So, link to the story on our Facebook page. If you'd like to submit a public comment, that link is in the Solid Tribune story. And those are your headlines and smooth jazz. We'll be back with more of For the People right after these local headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:35. The news is brought to you by Roof Rescue. Utah's rivers and creeks have been running high, fast, and cold this week. Warm temperatures in the 70s and 80s have melted a lot of snow. The snowmelt runoff has taken many rivers near or over their banks, creating some isolated minor flooding. But most of those rivers and creeks will see dropping levels over the coming days. A storm system that moved into the area Thursday brought cooler air back into the state, which will give the rivers a chance to catch up on the runoff from earlier in the week. Water levels should begin to drop for many rivers. A few rivers will not see a drop until this weekend. By early next week, almost all of Utah's rivers and creeks will be well below flood stage. Even though river levels will drop this weekend and early next week, caution should still be used around them. The river water will be very cold due to the fact that the water was snow just a day or two earlier. Hypothermia can set in for a person in the water in a matter of just minutes. The rivers and streams will also be moving fast, and it will be easy to be swept away. Keep children and pets far away from water sources through the spring season as snowmelt continues. Utah Community Builders, the Salt Lake Chamber, United Way of Salt Lake, and Voices for Utah Children have released a new guide called Family Friendly Workplaces, a guide for Utah business leaders. The guide provides businesses with data, best practices, and steps to support child care. The guide encourages businesses to understand the needs of working parents, take small steps to get quick wins, and cultivate strong leadership. The guide can help Utah leaders in business, government, and community support the child care needs of their employees. A link to see the guide is available at CacheValleyDaily.com. And the Cache Studio Art Tour is slated for early May. Dana Worley of North Logan is inviting art lovers of all kinds to join the free tour for a spring gift shopping celebration from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. today and tomorrow. Worley explains that 6 local artists will be opening their studios to the public. Each of those studios will feature the creations of one or more artists. Those artists are Worley, Gail Knapp, Melinda Petro, Carrie Rasmussen, Lori Nguyen, and Carol Warburton. Worley encourages everyone to join the tour and see a little of the magic behind these varied forms of artistic creations. You can get the addresses of each of these studios by going to the Cache Studio Art Tour Facebook page. And you can also see the calendar section at CacheValleyDaily.com for more information. KVNU News Time is 4:38.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, 40% chance of rain showers, overnight low in the upper 30s. Chance of rain showers, slight chance of thunderstorms in the morning, then rain showers likely, and a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon, high in the upper 50s. 50% chance of showers Saturday night, 70% chance of showers mid-50s on Sunday. It's been to 60, and right now it's 56 at KVNU. And we've had a late start this spring, but you can still have a beautiful green lawn this summer. Call the Lawn Doctor to get more information. They can help you with the weed battle that's going on in your yard. 753-LAWN, 753-LAWN. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Branch Office Administrator Whitney Heyer, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Mike Arnold and Edward Jones. Stocks closed sharply higher on Friday, finishing an eventful week on a positive note. After a week guided by the latest Fed rate hike and rolling worries over regional banks, markets responded favorably to Friday's release of the April jobs report, which showed the labor market remains in healthy shape. Today, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed up 547 points at 33,674. The NASDAQ closed up 269 points at 12,235. The S&P 500 closed up 75 points at 4,136. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.43%. The price of crude oil was up $2.85 at $71.41, and the spot price of gold was down $29.50 to $2,026.20. In stocks of local interest, Autoliv was up $3.21 at 85.58. Chevron was up $3.99 at 160.21. Dominion Energy was down 8 cents at 56.49. Home Depot was up $3.87 at 289.62. Kroger was up 95 cents at 49.23. Lowe's was up $3.01 at 205.81. McDonald's was up $1.44 at 296.60. Microsoft was up $5.24 at 310.65. Nucor was up $2.44 at 142.32. Philip Morris was up $1.18 at 95.56. And Walmart finished up $1.30 at 151.77. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Mike Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 135 North Main, Suite 102 in downtown Logan. If you'd like additional information, please contact our branch office at 753-2915.
Cinco de Mayo is going on right now at the Cache County Fairgrounds. We are having a blast. There's so many food options, so maybe you want to get out with your family and have yourself a nice meal. Maybe you want to come down and celebrate the music. There's so many music options. Plus, there's Zumba. There's just some great times of, networking and celebration. You can bring your kids down. There's bounce houses. There's tons of different locations that you can stop by and just celebrate. Cinco de Mayo going on right now at the Cache County Fairgrounds. We're going to be here until 8 o'clock tonight, so maybe you want to stop by this evening. Maybe you're not going to be able to stop by right now, but you can stop by this evening. Great. We're going to be here again until 8 o'clock at the Cache County Fairgrounds for Cinco de Mayo.
With this incredibly cold and wet winter, it's put everybody behind on lawn care services. Logan Extermination is ready to serve you. They offer the following services: outside bug spray from April to October for $65 per spray. Spray for weeds in your lawn as soon as possible for only $45 per 5,000 square feet. Don't forget, Logan Extermination can aerate your lawn to get airflow to combat the extra snow and moisture. Call Logan Extermination today. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Andy Morgan joining us in a bit for an extended movie show. We've got a lot of catching up to do and a lot of announcements, too, in the movie world. Summer movie season is officially upon us for the most part. And it is, what everyone's watching for in the entertainment world, especially, the theater chain owners, everyone's watching to see if this is, are we back? The box office has remained a little slimmer than pre-pandemic levels. As Andy and I have discussed many times, I roll my eyes at those who are always predicting no one's going to go to movies anymore. Well, we've seen that's not the case. There were actually millions of dollars spent on movie tickets during the pandemic, with theaters, going extra lengths to require masks and space seating and things like that. And then, of course, there being no movies to see, no new movies to see. Everyone was, I think the first one you could get out and see here in Cache Valley in June of 2020 was Jurassic Park. But people still spent millions and millions of dollars. So the movie industry isn't dead. The movie theater chain industry isn't dead. But they did see, obviously during the pandemic, a lot of shrinkage in the amount of money spent. And then it hasn't been a full recovery. It hasn't been a jump back to, pre-pandemic levels. And the question is, does this have anything to do with how great things were? I mean, admit it, movie-wise, 2017, 18, 19, those were amazing years in movies. Those were, we had, big franchises that were either in their heyday or even coming to an end. It seemed like, I remember, I think it was June of 2018. Andy can correct me if I'm wrong when he gets here, but I think it was June of 2018 that I ran out of time. I wasn't busy either. I didn't have a lot going on other than work, the radio show, and what you generally are up to in your yards, for example, in the summertime. But getting away for 2 hours for a movie, usually not a problem for me. But there was so much I wanted to see, I ended up missing some stuff. I even canceled plans once because there was something I wanted to see before it had been out too long, before someone ruined it for me on the internet, but with a spoiler. So it was just, 2018 was amazing. And then 2019, too, was really big. So did that set a bar that just isn't sustainable? That's one possibility. Or did the pandemic come along and, the example I used before the news, they're setting this up, I said, like in the labor market, the pandemic, one thing it seems to have done when it comes to work is it's made people less willing to accept, the bare minimum from their employers, from their jobs. I think it's awakened the workforce a little bit to the worth of a worker. And because what we saw in the pandemic is if people weren't willing to come to work because at that time they were concerned for their health, and all the unknowns we were still dealing with in the early months of 2020, a lot of work couldn't happen, which is a nice reminder that it's not the CEOs or the investors doing the work, it's the workers. And so that combined with, we've really seen what was referred to for a long time, I think erroneously, as a labor shortage kind of sustained. And labor shortage is not the best way to think about it. It's not actually a labor shortage. It's people who can afford to or who have the opportunity to actually sitting it out intentionally. It's not that there's a shortage of workers. It's that the potential workers are looking at the wages offered or the conditions of the job or the benefits package or whatever it is that's important to them and going, nah, I don't need to go back yet or at all. In other cases, it's something more complex like, child care issues and things like that, which have not all rebounded. But the reason I use that as an example is that I think there's two questions with the box office. Were the 3 years before the pandemic just so huge that was never sustainable? Or did the pandemic come along and kind of toss things in the air a little bit, and where they've settled is a place where people are a little more picky, so they're it's not that they're sitting on their wallets, they're still going to movies, but not, maybe they're more willing to say, nah, I'll wait for that one to hit the streaming services. Or
I think it's a combination. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without sounding like the get off my lawn guy.
Because the box office isn't suffering.
No.
It just didn't rebound to 2018-19 levels.
But here's what I would say. I don't feel like 2021, 2022 should count. One, because they released they've released half the amount of movies that were released in 2019.
Yeah.
Right. So if 2018 is a banner year for the box office, which it was, I think if my memory serves correctly, 2018 was the highest grossing domestic box office year of all time. Like 11.8 billion, right? I think is what it is.
That was, and as I was telling listeners, that June, that was the first time in my life I ran out of time to see the movies I wanted to see.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and that was the time of MoviePass too. I don't think MoviePass had that big of, like, anyone that thinks that MoviePass was like sustaining the theater industry is, or maybe it was, and that's why MoviePass was like, wow,
we did not
have $9 billion in our account. No, but what I was going to say was
they didn't have any in there.
I think there's a combo of things. Obviously 2019, right? It's on par with 2018. It was a little bit down, just slightly, like maybe $500 million. I think it was like 11.8 versus 11.4. 2020 we know was, tragic. Yeah. But 2021 and 2022, there's half. I think there was like 900, almost 1,000 movies released in 2018, and in 2021 and 2022, there's half of that, right?
Yeah. So the two combined don't equal 2019's.
So what I would say is, I would say we kind of have to, how people say like the 1999 San Antonio Spurs and the 2020 Lakers should have an asterisk.
No, that's a good example.
I think those 2 years probably need an asterisk by it. I don't think people know. I would say this year is going to be a better bellwether of what to predict.
Sure.
The other thing too is look at what the theater industry is doing right now. It's similar to what the rest of the country is doing with, as we stand on the precipice of a recession, is they're looking at their expenditures, right? And they're saying, we can't spend this much money, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got like Bob Chapek is out at Disney. Bob Iger comes back, and the first thing he does is he says, "Woo, dial it back on the first off on just paying so much money for movies, but also like let's dial it back on like we don't need 19,000 new the streaming series every year." I think you're going to see that more and more.
It was kind of out of hand.
Yeah, but I also think there is a human component to this, and I don't think we can answer the question today. I think it's going to be something that we'll have to answer within the next couple of years. But I have heard from people who are moviegoers that they say, "Look, why do I want to go to the theater?" And it's not anything to do with the theater. It's not like stinky, smelly theater, like dilapidated theater. I mean, theaters are going out of their way to make these places, these theaters. I mean, just look what the Megaplex has done here in the Valley with, you've got nicer seats, more, leg room, just luxury seating, things like that.
Sure.
But the thing I hear the most, and I'm going to talk about this in my Guardians of the Galaxy review, is people say, why do I want to go with a bunch of noisy, jerks, and people that are on their phones, and it's just like, why? Or I got to hear somebody munch their popcorn. Like, I'd rather hear my kid munch their popcorn and I can slap him in the face.
You tell your kid to shut up, right?
Instead of my movie neighbor. You know what I've honestly, I've done this before, Jason, and this is, I don't want people to think that I'm like Captain Moneybags, but
Movie Boy.
There are some things that we
look at Movie Boy there in his finery.
We legitimately will buy our seats in a certain pattern to prevent people from sitting next to us.
We do that. I shouldn't say this because I think this is one of the most selfish things that I do, but I have, when I've gone to things alone, I have bought
both seats next to you.
I've bought two before. And I have also bought, instead of buying the end seat, you buy the one right next to the end, because nobody's buying the end.
No.
And then you've got a place for your coat.
You know what, though?
And
that happened to me.
I wouldn't do that
movie.
at like a premiere.
In
I wouldn't be that.
What was
I'm
that?
not a monster.
In December 2021, I was at the Spider-Man, the with the three Spider-Men, and we purposely didn't buy the seat next to us, right? Because I was like, yeah. And so I'm sitting, and then there was some little punk sitting next to me, and he's Snapchatting the whole show. And finally, I have like a level of tolerance. Like if it's through the previews, like I'm irritated, right? Because the lights are down somewhat.
It's still rude, but I think it's allowed.
But I figure it's like the layup line at a basketball game, right?
Yeah.
All right, if you got to go get your hot dog, go get it now. Use the restroom, go get it now. We haven't done the starting lineups.
I always laugh at those people that have you ever sat through the trailers and then the last trailer ends and somebody gets up and leaves? I'm like, what were you doing?
I gotta see. You never know. There might be something new that hasn't been shown on YouTube. You never know. Anyhow, and this kid's Snapchatting the whole time, and I'm like, and finally, I think we were about maybe 15 or 20 minutes into the movie, and I just leaned over and I go, bro, for real? You know what I mean? And he was like, and then he kept doing it, and I was like, dude, seriously.
Yeah. It's
anyway,
very rude.
It is. I'm going to say this.
I have really sensitive eyes.
Yeah, I know, and especially when you crank your brightness up.
Yeah.
Anybody else see this?
It's actually, this is a real thing. I get headaches without sunglasses, things like that. So I take in a lot of light, and my eyes are slow to respond to. Like if you shine a flashlight in my eye, my eyes are a little slower to correct for that. I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's.
I think you're a superhero.
You're born with it,
technically,
whatever it is. I'm guessing. I do have great night vision because of this, but
you're Batman.
But it can also make me go blind if I'm not careful.
Batman well.
But when someone pulls their phone out at a movie theater, it takes. I miss a good 30 seconds of the movie, waiting for my eyes to correct when they put it away, and obviously, not everyone has that same experience.
No,
but
I have it.
It's not pleasant for anyone.
I miss out on like 30 seconds of dialogue because of all the Martin Scorsese F words that run through my brain in my head. I just, but I'm going to say this.
And I'll be honest with you, I am not above shouting across the theater. I've never done it, but it wouldn't bother me to do it.
If they're rows down, I'll go, turn off your phone.
Yeah.
Not that
I would
everyone
do that.
in their car needed to hear me yell that. But
sometimes a little public shaming is good for a person.
We should talk about that in the next hour on this whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing, because I'd like to know from listeners, like if movie patron behavior is something that keeps them from going. And then my other thing is I would love to hear someone try to justify their right that they feel like they should do that. Because
did I tell you about the column from the guy in the LA Times saying we need to get over this, just allow phones in theaters because kids are always connected and otherwise they're not going to go to movies?
No.
I read that column and thought,
who wrote that?
How do these people become columnists? He was a long time LA Times columnist from
that's being contrarian to be contrarian.
Yeah,
no one thinks.
I'm pretty sure.
My thing is there's a general lack of manners, I feel like, in today's day and age. And again, this might be my get off the lawn moment, but I just feel like that, with people being able to feel like they can say whatever they want on like Xbox Live or social media comments under a different persona,
sure,
or whatever, that I feel like that translates just by nature to their behaviors. And so this fact that like I can use my phone, my Instagram, Snapchat, I can text whatever during the theater, and because it's mine and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's rude.
I really
you
do.
have no manners.
I have this other theory that it's and again, this might just be me and you doing that, kids these days. But I really think
Get off my lawn.
So you and I are on the tail end of an entire era in which going to a movie was a much more finite and fleeting experience.
Like 3 times a year, maybe.
Yeah, and then also like when I was a kid and I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters for the first time ever.
Remember that guy brought his typewriter to the movie?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I was young, but I was young enough to know, or to be aware of, I can see in hindsight, you didn't know if you're ever going to see this again.
Fair.
Streaming wasn't even a word.
You knew that you knew that it'd be at least a year to a year and a half, maybe 2 years before you'd hit VHS.
Well, and even then, it was still like when Return of the Jedi came out, VHS was still a rental thing because they were $200 a piece or something like that.
I don't know
it wasn't
anyone
a home market yet.
I don't know anyone that owned a tape. Do you?
No. I honestly, it just wasn't. And so that creates this attitude towards going to movies that was more like, an event.
Mm-hmm.
And for kids,
we went
for kids these days, maybe it's more of a, I can see it 100 times when it hits Netflix.
We went to Thanksgiving, Christmas, and summer. That was it.
Yeah. It was a big deal. So, kids these days. For the People movie show continues into hour 2 of today's show on the other side of these headlines from ABC News and KVNU's Bill Walter. Stay tuned here on KVNU Logan.